Hello everyone, and welcome to the second part of my full calibration guide. The first part served as an introduction to calibrating in general, so if you haven't already, please go and check that out as well. Though if you already have, or have no need to, let's jump right into the next part with what I consider to be the single most important aspect, not just of the calibration, but 3D printing in general. And that would be your first layer quality. The reason this is so crucial is because it is quite literally the foundation for everything that we're going to do from this point on. All of your prints will either stand or, again, quite literally, fall because of your first layer quality. And because I'm probably going to say first layer quality about 100 times throughout these guides, I will abbreviate it to FLQ from now on so that I don't go insane. When it comes to the FLQ, most people really only talk about it in the context of adhesion issues. And to be fair, adhesion issues are the most common symptom of a poor FLQ. But they are by far not the only thing that your FLQ can tell you. In fact, overextrusion, underextrusion, and uneven print bed, temperature issues, a nozzle that is too close or too far away from the print plate, all of that has an impact on your FLQ. This means that if you manage to get a perfect FLQ and fix any issues surrounding it, chances are that in the process of getting there, you have also already minimized, if not completely eliminated, any other issues you might run into further into the calibration. In order to evaluate our FLQ, we are going to need a benchmark for it. There are countless so-called first layer test files available online, shared by other users in the hobby, but we don't need those. We are going to make our own, and it will only take a few seconds. Open up Orca Slicer and start a new project. Right-click on the selected plate, then click Add Primitive and choose Cube. Adjust the size of the cube. I recommend around 50 by 50 or 100 by 100 millimeters, and then uncheck the box for uniform scale. Now all we have to do is to set the height of the cube equal to the height of our first layer. In my case, this would be 0.12 millimeters. And we're done. Most first layer tests usually cover the entire print plate, but that is mostly to detect impurities or perhaps uneven heating. For calibration purposes, using a smaller benchmark is preferable because we're most likely going to print this more than once. I have prepared 3 different benchmark prints, 2 of which I have sabotaged in order to show you what you need to look out for. The first one seems pretty good at first glance as the surface is very smooth. However, the print also seems to be extremely flimsy and fragile. You might say, well, of course it is fragile. We are printing at a height of 1/10 of a millimeter. But that is actually a misconception. Even at such a low height, your first layer should have a similar structural integrity as a piece of paper. You know how paper is very easy to tear but extremely difficult to pull apart? That property is what we are also looking for in our FLQ print. I want you to hold the benchmark print like this, between your thumb and your little finger at opposing corners. Holding it awkwardly like this means that you cannot apply a lot of pressure even if you wanted to. So if you still manage to pull it apart, that means that there is something wrong and you have a poor FLQ. There are several potential reasons for this, and none of them are mutually exclusive, meaning you might have to try more than one in order to fix the issue. I'm going to go over them in order, starting with the one that will take the least amount of effort to fix. The first one is something that you've definitely heard before: clean your printplate. I know. That is by far the most commonly suggested solution for any FDM issue, but it is so for a reason. If there is one thing that I have learned in the literal thousands of hours of printing, then it's that your printplate is never as clean as you think it is. So give it another scrub and try to print it again. Next, simply either increase or decrease the temperature of your bed by around 5 degrees Celsius. If it still comes out flimsy, the issue might be that your nozzle is too far away from the printplate, or that the latter is not properly leveled, in which case you simply have to re-level it and double check that your nozzle is seated correctly. If that didn't fix it either, we are getting to the issues that'll take a little bit more effort to fix. Whenever a print isn't, as for lack of a better word, solid as it's supposed to, one of the usual suspects is underextrusion. Underextrusion is usually caused by a flow ratio that is set too low. The flow ratio essentially regulates how much filament can get pushed through the nozzle. However, since we didn't actually touch the flow ratio setting yet, and are still using the auto calibration, it is far more likely that your underextrusion would be caused by a partial nozzle clog, in which case we need to do a cold pull. That is, when we heat up the filament in the nozzle and remove the nozzle once the temperature reaches around 100 degrees Celsius, and then we pull out the remaining filament in the hopes that we're going to remove any debris, filament, or anything else that would cause the clog. One way to check whether you have a partial clog is to manually extrude filament, and if it doesn't come out in a straight line, you might have a partial clog. Even if you think that this isn't the case and that your nozzle is fine, I still recommend that you do at least 1 or 2 cold pulls anyway. That way you can be certain, and spoiler warning for future parts of the calibration, this is unlikely going to be the last cold pull that we do, especially once we get to the temperature settings, so you might as well get some practice in. Remember that you need to re-level your bed after you have reseated the nozzle once you're done. After you've done that, reprint your benchmark, and it is at this point where you probably realize why we went with such a small benchmark, because if we hadn't, then this would take around an hour or 2 per attempt, as opposed to only 15 minutes. If that still didn't fix it, that means that even after re-leveling the bed, the nozzle might be too far away from the print plate. We have one more trick up our sleeve that we can use, but I'm going to go over that in a moment because it also applies to the second benchmark print that I have prepared. Looking at this one, we can tell that it is much sturdier, but the surface isn't smooth at all. This is because the nozzle is slightly scraping the surface of the print. Some may suspect that the reason for this is overextrusion, which would again lead us to adjusting the flow ratio, but overextrusion usually doesn't become an issue until the excess filament actually had time to build up over multiple layers. If it is just a single layer, then overextrusion won't cause your nozzle to hit the print. Instead, the nozzle is simply too close to your print plate. Simply double checking whether your nozzle is seated correctly and then re-leveling the bed should be enough to fix this issue most of the time. But if the problem persists, there is one more thing that we can do whenever the nozzle is too far away or too close to the print plate, and that is manually editing the machine start G-code to modify the Z distance. Now that may sound very technical and perhaps even scary if you're not familiar with it, but all we're doing here is essentially telling the printer to adjust the distance between the nozzle and the print plate by a specific value right before it starts our print. There are actually two ways to edit the G-code. The first one is in your nozzle printer settings under Machine G-code. If you scroll down almost to the very end, you can actually see the command that we're going to use. G29.1 Z and then in brackets minus 0.02 for textured plate, and right before that you have if current bed type equals textured plate. What this will do is that the printer will first check which type of print plate you're using, and then it will adjust the distance of the nozzle by 0.02 millimeters, and because this is a negative value, it will move the nozzle closer to the print plate. If you want to move the nozzle further away from the print plate, then we would have to use a positive value, such as 0.02. This method will only work for the textured PEI plate though. I have already tried changing the name of the plate in the G-code to match other plates, such as the smooth plate or the super tack plate, but it didn't seem to have any effect on the actual print. I don't know if that is a bug or if I made a mistake, but adjusting the value in the printer settings directly only seems to affect the textured plate. If you want to make it work for the other plates, then we have to do that in the filament settings instead. And since we are here to calibrate our filament, that's actually the preferred way of doing it anyway. Open your filament settings and select the Advanced tab. Then scroll down all the way to the end in the Filament Start G-code section. There we want to add the same command that is used in the printer G-code, except that we don't specify which print plate we're going to use. So simply add G29.1 Z and then in brackets the value that you want to use, and that's it. If the nozzle is too far away from the plate, use a negative value to move it closer to the plate, and if it is too close, then use a positive value to move it further away from the plate. There is a catch to this though, and a reason why I chose to put this last. By doing this, we are essentially overriding the value that the printer thinks it should use. I don't know if there are any failsafes put in place for your machine, and I don't want you to find out the hard way, because if there aren't any failsafes, chances are that you can damage your hardware. Now, realistically, this is not going to be an issue if you increase the distance, but if you were to use a high negative value to move the nozzle way too close to the plate, the printer might not stop when it's supposed to, and you end up damaging your printer. So please, use this method only if nothing else worked, and when you use it, apply common sense and only use values in 0.01 increments, as well as monitor your printer during the print to prevent any issues. If you're not sure whether the command did anything, you can simply intentionally use a large positive value to move the nozzle away. And if the printer ends up printing in midair or the filament doesn't stick to the plate anymore, then you know that the command worked as intended, and you can adjust the value until you find whatever number works best for you. This is very much a trial and error process. Finally, let's take a look at the third benchmark, the one that I didn't sabotage, and you can instantly tell the difference. It has a very smooth surface and it also passes the pull test. It's a lot sturdier than the first print and a lot smoother than the second one. This is what a good first layer is supposed to look like. To recap what we've gone over in this video, first, make sure that your first layer is smooth, even if you're using a textured plate. Second, check whether the FLQ benchmark passes the pull test. And third, only change the G-code if you have to. Like I said at the beginning of the video, all of your prints, including the calibration, will either stand or fall with the quality of your first layer. This will be especially important for the next part of the calibration, where we will go over the flow ratio. I hope this video was useful to you. If it was, or if you learned anything new, I would love to get some feedback in the comment section, and until then, see you in the next part and have fun printing.